Things haven't been going too well for the Democratic Party as of recent. In the past several years, you've all seen it. They've gone so far left, they've rotted their minds. In the past few months, we've seen some polls come out showing that, well, their approval rating is in the gutter. And David Hogg, of all people, is begging Democrats to wake up to their abysmal 23% approval rating, which shows, they're going to have a hard time winning. However, Fox News put out a new poll saying they are still the favorite to win in the midterms. Unless Trump can turn things around, they may take Congress. And if they do, man, Trump will be impeached faster than you can say impeached. But I got to tell you, my friends, in terms of party leadership, they've got nothing. So 2028, I ain't super worried. But time, it's a long time till then. And things can definitely change, and they will change. I think that's fair. Right now, the front runner for the Democratic Party in 2028 is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Yeah, she ain't winning nothing. For one thing, I do think, and I've said this quite a bit, I think there is an inherent sexism in general. And I'm not saying this to disparage people for being sexist. I'm saying there are a lot of people in this country, men and women alike, who ain't voting for a woman president, which means AOC is going to have to overcome that hurdle, especially if she's running against a man. Now, I do see the possibility of a woman president if both Republicans and Democrats are only running women. Yeah, then maybe you will get that. There was this funny story. University flipped the Trump debate. They had a woman be Trump and a man be Hillary Clinton, and people still favored the Trump narrative. Because then, the Democrats had been saying Hillary lost due to sexism. I do think they will play a role, however. Right now, you've got J.B. Pritzker, you've got Stephen A. Smith, you've got Beto O'Rourke, you've got Sri Thanedar. Yeah, who's that guy? It is crabs in a barrel as everybody fights to get to the top of the Democratic Party, but none of them have the X factor. To be fair, AOC has a little bit, but certainly not enough yet to actually run for president, which is really crazy because, they're telling her to run for president, which I'm going to tell you, good luck. Maybe she'll write a book after the fact. But we're going to get into all of this, my friends. And then, of course, outside of the story with the Democrats is this Shiloh Hendricks narrative. This woman at a park who was accused of calling a child a racial slur, who has now raised $658,000. So joining us in about half an hour to discuss this and the issue of white guilt and how this is going to affect voting, especially considering where the Democrats are at. We're going to be joined by Carl Benjamin himself, a.k.a. Sargon of Akkad. Before we get started, shout outs, my friends, to Steven Crowder and the Mug Club. Thank you guys for shouting us out. We greatly appreciate it. Steven's got a great show. This is the Rumble Live noon hour. I'm your host, Tim Pool. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. But my friends, don't forget, go to boonieshq.com. Click the link in the description below and pick up your 28th Amendment Tim Pool skateboard. My friends, this is my proposal for the 28th Amendment. Now, of course, some of you may prefer Joe Biden's Equal Rights Amendment, which he just decreed. Not kidding. Joe Biden tried decreeing an amendment to the Constitution. That's saying like equality, as for the sexes or whatever. Here's my 28th Amendment. Chickens being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep, bear, and breed chickens shall not be infringed. And you think it's a joke. It largely is, but there is some truth to this. The general idea is that we as Americans should be secure in the production of our own food, and that includes livestock within reason. So while I joke, because chickens are based, the general idea is government shouldn't be able to come in and take your crops from you or tell you can't plant food, fruit, or vegetables. We have a right to separate ourselves from the machine state and corporations to grow and secure our own food. It's funny the founding fathers were never worried about that. They didn't really know. But let's get into the news, my friends. Again, smash that like button. Share this show right now with everyone you know. If everybody watching right now shared this show, we would be the biggest news show in the world. So I can only presume many people who watch don't really care if that's the case, which is fair. You don't owe me nothing. I'm going to complain on the internet, and if you want to watch, it's appreciated. Here's a story from Fox News. Democrats' favorability hits new low, still favored over GOP in 2026 midterms. Republicans nosedive with voters under the age of 30. Democrats hit their lowest favorable rating ever this month. as Republicans are viewed more positively than their counterparts for the first time in a decade. Wow, that's crazy. Yet voters would back the Democratic candidate over the Republican in their district if the 2026 congressional elections were held today. The latest Fox News survey released Friday finds 44% have a favorable opinion of the Republican Party, while 54 have an unfavorable view. For the Democratic Party, it's 41 to 56. Wow, minus 15. Results were reversed last summer. The most recent time Fox asked the question when voters viewed Republicans negatively by 14 points and the Democrats by just 6 points. The last time Republicans had a better favorable rating than Democrats, albeit by 1 point, was in April of 2014. Wow. The drop in positivity toward the Democrats comes from within. Last summer, 87% of self-identified Democrats approved their party. Now that's down to 77. Democrats hate themselves. This is the point I am bringing up, my friends. The average Democrat doesn't want to align with Democrats. Now, that is my opinion, but I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to show you. AOC getting heckled. Stephen A. Smith says, we got to purge the party. Beto O'Rourke says, y'all are weak. You've got people who support the party in general because they hate Republicans and they want to win, but they don't like anyone who's representing the party. They're all fighting like crabs in a bucket. Anytime someone rise up, the other one's going to pull them down. Now, we don't need to actually, I'm going to say this. I give a brief mention to Sri Tanadar, but I'm not going to go beyond that. The guy who impeached Donald, or he filed articles of impeachment, which is a dumb waste of everybody's time. And he's doing it because he wants the attention. But I will give a shout out to Piers Morgan, because I know that a lot of people thought we were having drama, and that was never my intention. So shout out to Piers. He had me on his show and gave me the opportunity to confront Sri over his ridiculous impeachment. And I, as well as Cenk Uygur, of all people, roasted him over this. I mean, everybody did, but even Cenk Uygur was like, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, this is ridiculous. You're not getting any Republicans on board. This is a waste of time. Indeed. Homie is doing it to boost his profile because he ain't got nothing else. And part of me, I feel bad because he's a bit of a doof, like this guy. He's coming on TV being like, Donald Trump, he's doing all these bad things. And I'm just like, bro, you not liking what Trump is doing is not grounds for impeachment, but this is the best they have. So it's kind of sad. I can only feel so bad for him. Take a look at this Fox poll data. Favorable ratings of the major political parties. I want to stress this, my friends. I get this all the time from people like, Tim, you said we don't trust the polls and blah, blah. I'm going to tell you this. I like poll aggregates. Polling aggregates are good. Let's do Democrat Party, Real Clear Politics. Let's see. The Real Clear Politics has got Democratic Party favorability. Aggregates, I like, okay? But right now, let me tell you this. Typically and historically, in the videos I'd make tracking polls, I would use the aggregates. But now, when it comes to Trump, the polls make no sense. This is the problem. Let me pull up Trump's job approval. Okay, Trump's job approval has improved markedly. Take a look at this. Economist YouGov has Trump minus 11. Reuters, Trump minus 11. Hold on. For the same time period, RMG has Trump plus 1. This is what I'm saying, guys. Even the aggregates are almost meaningless at this point. Rasmussen has Trump plus 1. Trafalgar has Trump plus 2. So we can argue he's been improving. But wait, hold on. How is it that Rasmussen has him plus 1, but for the same time period, and Emerson has him a tie, but for the same time period, Economist YouGov has him minus 11. That swing is so profound, we can suss out no data. Ergo, it is not fair to say that Trump is currently minus 6.5. It's fair to say, I have no idea where he's currently standing. The reason I bring that up, if you track a singular poll that you trust, you're going to understand movement based on politics better. So going back to the Democratic Party favorability, right now, you've got Economist YouGov saying minus 22. Pew Research, minus 22. Wall Street Journal, minus 24. But despite the fact that we have these aggregates, it still is really hard to suss this out because they don't poll for the Democratic Party favorability the same or over the same periods of time. Here's my point. when you're looking at the data from Fox News, they're going to poll largely the same way. So what we can say is this. Democratic Party, July 2024, 47% of all voters. It says, what does it say? Percentage of voters have a favorable view. April 25, among all voters, 41%. Does that mean it's actually 41%? Normally, I'd say the aggregate shows they're all within the margin of error. The aggregate's probably correct. Considering all the polls are nuts and no one's polling accurately for the most part, Rasmussen largely is, I would just say track the movement of the same poll. If they're polling in the same way, similar people, and favorability goes down, that is likely the case. That is why I said last week, Rasmussen had Trump down, indicating that they're polling the same way. If he is now down, he likely took a hit on the tariff story. He has since rebounded as the market has improved. That makes sense. Now let's check in with our good friend AOC. How's she doing? Quote, "You're a war criminal." AOC heckled by pro-Gaza constituents in Queens. Well, okay, I guess. Here's the video.
Very hard to defend. And I want to know what you're doing about the genocide in Gaza. You're a war
Warms my heart. You reap what you sow. Okay, we get it. It's a cacophony of nonsense. But this young woman is screaming, what are you going to do about the genocide in Gaza? You're a war criminal. You reap what you sow, AOC. I will not shed a single tear. In fact, I'm going to sit back, crack open a delicious tropical, where are those little protein smoothies? We got these delicious tropical protein smoothie. It's close I can get to pina colada. It's got no alcohol, but it's got MCT and good whey protein. And I'm gonna sip on that, watch with a smile on my face. Can I tell you, my friends, I respect the fervor to a certain degree, like the passion, I should say. But yo, what I cannot stand about this degree of developmental disability. Okay, and first of all, if, in all seriousness, if she is incapable of learning, then I do feel bad for these people. But, I've been around for 39 years, and I've spent much of my life involved in politics to some degree. That's right. Even as a 12 and 13-year-old, I was on, what do we have? Newgrounds and Fark.com. Newgrounds was less so political, more just, you guys know Newgrounds. If you know Newgrounds, you know what it is. It's cartoons and stuff, precursor to like YouTube, then everyone went to video. But Fark.com back in the day was news headlines. And I'm reading the news all day, every day. I was a little kid. I mean, I was like 12, 13, and I'm on the internet, I'm reading news. And I started getting into punk rock music coincided with this. It was very political themed. Started working for nonprofits, all that stuff, protested. I got to tell you, the things I did not know then, and I got to tell you now, the things I do not know now. But I do know a bit, and I mean it literally, a bit. And so what I can tell you is this. What irks me about these people that the Democrats have fomented when they're screaming genocide in Gaza, we as a nation are dealing with so much. I question these people and their fervor over a singular issue and why. And it's not about Gaza, Israel, literally anything else. Dakota Access Pipeline protesters back in the day, same deal. Why is this the one thing you care about? Why do you not care about every other instance that is similar to this? While they were dealing with Keystone, the Dakota Access Pipeline, and several other pipelines, it was like this one that mattered. Meanwhile, you have Alaska; they don't care about that, and it's a question I have for these young people. What are they focused on? And I think the answer is quite simple. This is why I say you reap what you sow. AOC fomented this behavior, hyper-focusing on these issues, and she has created a youth that doesn't know enough. This Saturday, we had the Culture War Live event. And one of the guys who came up, a young guy, probably in his 20s, was a liberal. And he did not understand what the Biden administration had done that had made conservatives so willing to allow Trump to exercise extreme executive authorities. And he asked the question, what if you get a President AOC and then she starts doing these things? I said to this man, the Biden administration already did this. And the Obama administration before that with the IRS. When you as a liberal are saying, if you do this, Democrats can do it next. What these young people don't understand is that for the millennials that are in their late 30s, we're going, bro, we watched that happen over 10 years. And now we are trying to stop it. But see, they don't know that. Because these young guys, 22, 23 years old, they weren't paying attention to politics 5, 6 years ago. They didn't see what happened 10 years ago with Trump being accused of being a spy. Because they were just listening to music, hanging out. So now as they're entering politics, they're saying, whoa, why are you doing this thing? And it's like, we don't want that thing to happen. But how do you deal with 20 million illegal immigrants in your country right now? I'm not saying no due process. I'm saying Trump will use extreme executive authorities. To clarify, he will use what he's illegally allowed to use to engage in these behaviors, though we're surprised he's going that far. But it ain't just AOC who's reaping the benefits. Beto O'Rourke blasts fellow Dems as lazy and weak and slams Schumer for surrendering to Trump. Oh boy. Does Beto O'Rourke want to get in this race? Certainly hope he does. Stephen A. Smith chiming in. Democratic Party would need to be purged before he would run. Oh, yeah. The funny thing is, he's also one of the front runners. Why? What is going on? I love it, though. Stephen A. Smith said the Democratic Party would need to be purged before he would run for president under the party. Smith joined CNN State of the Union on Sunday, where host Jake Tapper asked him about a 2028 run. If you were to run for president, would it be as a Democrat? And he says, I'm a registered independent who leans left. Fiscally conservative when it comes to my money. I'm socially liberal. I'm liberal when it comes to social issues pretty much across the board. Well, that's what's funny, because I'm actually kind of social. I'm fiscally liberal, but I'm socially moderate to conservative. Isn't that weird how we ended up in this place? He says, if I had to run, it would be as a Democrat, but I'm not happy with the Democratic Party. So the Democratic Party, as presently constructed, it would pretty much need to be purged in order for me to assume that I would want to be associated with him. Bravo, good sir. Bravo. I give you a golf clap. Golf clap. Tapper asked Smith about whom he would like to see purged from the party for him to be associated with it. Smith said he wasn't going to name any names regarding whom he would remove from the party leadership, but he slammed the far left and excessive spending. Smith argued the Democratic Party spread messages that weren't emblematic of what most Americans are thinking about, including paying mortgages and buying groceries. He noted that he is a political outsider who is not qualified to run for office. Quote, I think the kind of impact that I could have as a centrist, as a moderate, as somebody who believes in being sensible and engaging in common sense. Unfortunately, I believe that if I did take this very, very seriously and I moved forward and decided that I wanted to be a politician, do I believe I could win? You're damn right. It's because of the state of our politics in this nation's capital, the politicians that we're looking at, and the fact that we don't believe for 1 second that they are serving the interests of the American people, nor are they interested in it. People look at me and they know one thing. I would be interested in serving the American people and doing what's in the best interest of this country, he continued. I love it. I'd love it for the Democratic Party to be purged. I'd love it for people like him to come in and actually make sense. But here's the issue. What do you mean you're socially liberal? So you want kids to get sex changes? Dude, listen, back in the day, we had safe, legal, rare for abortion. The general idea when I grew up was that abortion was a bad thing you didn't want to do, but unfortunately, sometimes bad things happen. That means the implication was abortion wasn't contraception. Abortion was, oh no, I have a medical ailment and I'm freaking out. What do? I could die or the baby could die. And the argument was that the doctors and the mother should make that difficult decision. But the Democrats transformed this. They turned it into anyone at any time for any reason, just go kill the baby. And now you have that as socially liberal. You've got Democrats saying that, you know, it's really funny. There's a viral clip where this dude on The View is saying, you know, men, When they see a group being attacked, they go into protection mode. Do they? He's making a stupid point about the transgender community. Bro, there are a lot of groups ain't nobody gonna protect. Like child abusers. There's a group of people, when they get attacked, men say they're the offenders. No one's defending that. Well, I guess Democrats are. But therein lies the point. And now we got J.B. Pritzker. Do nothing Democrats. He thunders against them as he stokes 2028 talk. Oh boy. The Hill's given us the list of the top 10 Democratic contenders, and things are looking good for 2028 for the Republican side. On the Democrat side, here's what you got. AOC. Okay, well, AOC is polling at around 10%. I'm not saying that everybody hates her. When they asked who was the leader of their party, only 10% said AOC, but she did win. There's that. People might get behind her. You've got Josh Shapiro as a possibility, but Democrats, he's Jewish. They ain't going to nominate that guy. They don't like Jewish people. Gretchen Whitmer has been pulling this bipartisan stunt with Donald Trump. I think there's a strong possibility Whitmer tries to get into that game. And I think it's pretty obvious. Although now the Democrats are coming after her pretty heavily because they feel like she's betraying them. And, so be it. You reap what you sow, Democrats. Who's next on the list? Gavin Newsom. He's kind of fallen out of the limelight, but we'll see what he starts to do. We'll see what he does. He's doing these podcasts. He's at Charlie Kirk and Bannon and some other liberals. They say Wes Moore, not going to happen. Wes Moore is a C-lister. He's okay, but you're probably going, who exactly? Those of us who are in politics, we kind of know. Former Vice President Kamala Harris. Please pick this lady. Dude, this lady could not win a race if she was driving a car. A foot race? That was a bad analogy, but you get the point. She couldn't win a foot race if she was driving a car. So you put her in this election. You see that viral video again where she's like, I saw these elephants and they came together to protect one another. It's like, okay, look. She tries to do this thing where she sounds profound and she sounds really dumb. It doesn't work. It doesn't. It's like trying to create quotes, but for a third grade audience. Number 7, we got J.B. Pritzker. He's trying as hard as he can. Pete Buttigieg grew a beard, started going on right-wing podcasts. Not really right-wing, but, not really left-wing podcasts. Rahm Emanuel, that one's an interesting one. They say in appearances with the likes of Maher, he's argued the party has put too much focus on social issues like trans rights and too little on fighting crime and improving schools. That may be big. And lastly, they say Stephen A. Smith. I would love it if the Democratic Party purged the psychotic left and actually became a party of, like the working class. I've said it before. I will say it again. If the Democrats in 2024, I would say it's 2015, but Hillary, it was her turn. If in 2024, the Democrats brought out a candidate who said, guys, it is a good thing that Trump secured the border. Let me tell you, Democrats, let me tell you a story first. Okay, I'm gonna derail. 15 years ago, man, I can't believe it. 15 years ago, whatever. 13 years ago, maybe. I'm sitting on a bus. Oh no, man, this has got to be like 14 years ago. Crazy. And I was hanging out with my friend. I had been working on a tech startup for an app that was going to do online fundraising, which is crazy because then you get ActBlue and WinRed. And I wish me and my friends actually ended up building it. But we were working on it. And I said, here's the idea. Online fundraising through social media, a web portal where anyone can plug into it. And then you can facilitate donations for political and activist causes. No joke, legit. This is like March of 2011. I was working on this with some people in California. And I'm on a bus. My friend's like, shh, you're really just going to say this out loud? People can hear you. And I laughed and I was like, do you think the people on the bus are going to steal this idea? I'm struggling to make it and never did. It's hard enough for me to try and get something going. And so when I now give this advice to Democrats, people saying, don't give them advice. I'm saying it because I know they can never figure it out. Anyway, if the Democrats put forward a guy right now and he said, listen, it is good that Trump closed the border. It is good that Trump is enacting certain tariffs on certain materials to bring back the Rust Belt manufacturing base. Those are good things. Trans kid stuff ain't an issue. We don't want that to be happening. Let's have that settled in court. If this person came out and said, what Trump is doing is good, but then the attack would be, Trump seems chaotic. Trump seems like he's not planned it out, like he has the idea, but not a plan. The attack vector for Democrats is to say, Trump good, Trump execution bad. I mean it. Now, here's what I will say. I'm still not convinced they're going to be able to pull it off, largely because the woke element that's holding the party back. But Trump is the popular vote winner. And most older people vote against Trump because they hate Trump, not for any meaningful policy reason. Meaning if you created a 48-year-old, tall, white man who said Trump is right on a lot of his policy positions, I'll tell you that right now, but he's kind of a dick. That would create an opening for the people who only care about Trump to vote for this person, because they would just go along with it because he's not Trump. Then you would steal from Trump a lot of the middle of the road people. But hey, Democrats haven't figured that one out. So that's a shame for them. More importantly, I don't think AOC is going to let it happen. And there's no rising star in the party who can make that happen. David Hogg, who's trying to be some up-and-coming young star, is still living in a crackpot leftist reality. So they're doomed. That's why I feel comfortable saying these things. Hey, here's how you win, Democrats. I'm only saying because I know you wouldn't be able to actually pull it off. So we'll see. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know, my friends. And you can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. For those that are still watching live, stay tuned. We will be joined by Carl Benjamin in just a bit. For everybody else, thanks for tuning in for this portion of the Rumble Live show. And we'll see you all in the next bit.